Hello viewers and welcome to another match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest. My name is Mitch and I am the Hive Tyrant. Today, it is with great honor that I have the opportunity to present you with another game sent in to me by Barry Wardle of the Guardians of Tyr. They're an event organizer based in Northampton, England, and what makes today's game particularly special is that it's a Chaos faction mirror match pitting old versus new. To the left, piloted by a gentleman named Ian Russell, we have our most recent Chaos faction warlord, the Cornate Barzul the Hatebound, and to the right we see none other than the original gangster himself. It's going to be Zarathur High Sorcerer, piloted by Mike Kerslake. Mike begins the game holding our initiative token, and his opening deploy action is going to be the strategic positioning of Slaaneish's Temptation to planet number 5. For the cost of 2, it's a unique attachment that you affix to a planet, and it increases the cost asked of your opponent to deploy an army unit to any other planet by 1. But at that same planet, played out by Ian, we've got a copy of the 2-cost Chaos Fanatics, 2 command icons, 1/2 cultist trait unit, and again, at that same planet, although this time played out by Mike, we have the 1-cost, 1 command icon Ubiquitous Void Pirate, for, as ever, a bit of an early game card bonus, albeit shut down entirely by that Chaos Fanatics, so a likely target for a promotion at some point in the future. But at planet number 1, we see our first combat unit. It's going to be the modified 3-cost Ravening Psychopath, 1 command icon, 1 attack, 3 hit points. Whenever it happens to resolve its attack, it can deal itself a point of damage in order to deal a point of damage to an enemy army unit also present at that same planet, so a bit of a double-pronged effect. And it looks like our players are currently in the process of arguing over who's going to control the Slith Mercenary played out to planet number 3. So originally thrown out by Zarathur for the cost of 1, it's a 2 command icon unit with 2 attack as well as 2 hit points, and the action where you can invest 2 additional resources in that unit in order to purchase control of it. Barzul is sent during the command phase to planet number 1. Note he's a 0/5 damage sponge type unit, where after a unit at his planet takes damage, he can absorb that into himself, and Zarathur, who amplifies any and every outgoing source of damage or source of damage your opponent deals itself at that same planet by 1, he instead is sitting at planet number 4. So planet number 1 currently under contest is going to be Boundless, the forced random card discard planet. That, by the way, was a total of 2 cards won to the left by Ian, our Barzul player. Planet number 3 is a couple of resources to the right for Zarathur. Planet number 4 is going to be a card and a resource for Zarathur, and planet number 5, because Barzul has 2 command icons at that planet over his opponent's 1, that's going to shut down that card bonus and is going to mean 1 card and 1 resource to the left for Ian. So, very interesting play. Looks like we've got a copy of Warp Storm gracing the tabletop. That's going to be a 3-cost event where you pick a planet or the enemy HQ and you deal 2 points of damage to each and every unit without an attachment at that same planet. That's going to be 2 points of damage dealt out to the Ravening Psychopath. I wonder if we're going to see those relocated over to Barzul. And it's also going to be 2 points of damage dealt out to Barzul. And of course, when Barzul himself is bloodied, he's going to flip from a 0/5 to a 3/11 with no ability any longer. But Boundless is going to be captured. That's going to be a random card discard. That's going to be the Ravening Psychopath discarded by Zarathur. Zarathur could, of course, turn that double-pronged assault into 2 instances of 2 damage as opposed to 2 instances of 1 damage. And now, because that Ravening Psychopath in Barzul's HQ, it looks like it was actually destroyed by the firing of Aatrox Prime. Zarathur, of course, landed that planet, and the Ravening Psychopath would have no longer been able to deal itself damage thanks to its ability, so it looks like Barzul takes a point of damage, and the Ravening Psychopath is destroyed as well. I believe Barzul's ability is confined to functioning at planets, just like Mystic Warden and a fair few other effects, so of course absolutely nothing Barzul could have done to try to stave off that effect. Our new planet number 5, as we move through an HQ phase here, is going to be Ossus 4, the Steel 1 resource planet, and our new planet number 1, currently under contest, is going to be Yvarn, which basically forces both players to put an army unit from their hand directly into play without the necessity of paying any kind of requisite cost. So, It looks like neither of our players have any units in their respective HQs, and therefore they're free to send their warlords anywhere their heart desires. Looks like Ian to the left is being a little bit bold and effectively ignoring Slaaneash's Temptation. Thus far, he's had to invest an additional 2 resources into that effect. At planet number 1, we see his signature army unit, Barzul's Cleavers, for the cost of 3. It's a 2/5 unit with a command icon, and as an action during deploy, during command, during combat, it can give itself a +2 attack value bonus at the cost of dealing itself 2 points of damage, but of course that bonus only persists for its next 1 individual attack. At planet number 3, for the cost of 2, we see a 1/2 alternate art version of the somewhat seldom played Colosseum Fighters that of course bounced that copy of Warpstorm back into Zarathur's hand, and now that's going to be another bit of a tool in his arsenal there. At planet number 1, that is going to be a resource to the left for Ian. Planet number 2 is going to be another couple resources for Zarathur. Planet number 3 is going to be a cardinal resource for Zarathur. Planet number 4, thanks to the presence of Barzul, he's going to be able to get rid of that copy of Slaaneash's Temptation, and that copy of Chaos Fanatics might just be able to kill off that copy of Void Pirate as well. So let us see what exactly happens. Ian's got the initiative. For Zarathur, we could see a copy of Infernal Gateway drop a unit into play at planet number 1, but Barzul's Cleavers would presumably be able to kill it, and it looks like that planet's not only going to be entirely uncontested, but Yvarn is going to be triggered, and that is going to be a copy of the immensely powerful Black Legion Helldrake being put into play in Barzul's HQ. It's an 8/8 flyer for the cost of 8 with 3 command icons, and that is absolutely ridiculous. So let us see what exactly our players continue to do. Looks like Zarathur did derive at least some benefit from that effect. He was able to put a copy of the unique 4-cost Chaos Faction Loyal Army Unit Rograx Bloodhand into play directly into his HQ for no cost whatsoever. And looks like, what exactly are we seeing there? That is going to be Aatrox Prime firing at Planum, so that's going to be an additional point of damage to Barzul. It's going to be a point of damage to the Chaos Fanatics, and it looks like we're going to see Sowing Chaos discarded as a shield to block off a bit of damage dealt out to Barzul, but looks like, unfortunately, we see another copy of Warpstorm. That is going to be a very dead Void Pirate, and that is potentially going to be a bloodied Barzul and a dead Chaos Fanatics as well. So the Chaos Fanatics are killed, Barzul is going to be bloodied, and that is going to be Planum. Basically not the battle ability is not going to be triggered by either of our players, but there was a battle that took place at that planet. You could have triggered Warpstorm prior to a battle occurring, and then you could have left your copy of Slaaneash's Temptation sitting affixed to that same planet. That would have been very wise, in I guess my opinion, because, well, I would actually have to see if there is an action window in between combats. So somebody do me the favor of checking the RRG, see if there's an action window in between checking for battles to occur. Could we have seen Slaaneash's Temptation remain at planet number 4? But regardless, that is going to be Yvarn in the victory display there of Ian. That's going to be another green strongpoint type icon among a red material and blue technology icon added to his victory display. So if he picks up another green planet, that could be the victory for him. So therefore, we could see this game conclude as early as our current planet number 3, or we could instead see it conclude through red material type icons as early as planet number 2, or if Zarathur gets, back in gear and picks up a couple red icons, we could see the game end as early as our current planet number 5, which looks to me like Taurus. So Zarathur could pick up like a red at 1 and 2 and then 5. So looks like victory is a fair ways away for Zarathur. Victory is actually pretty close for Barzul, but now that he's bloodied, it's going to be rather difficult for him to try to, as soon as he takes 11 points of damage, he is going to be dead, and that is going to be the game going to Zarathur. Zarathur kind of excels at dealing damage, so therefore Barzul is going to have to be playing pretty carefully indeed, and he's going to have to be very careful with where exactly he decides to send his Warlord. Promise of Glory is played out to the right by Zarathur. That's going to be a zero-cost event that generates 2 1/1 cultist trait tokens that you can sacrifice to reduce the cost required to play demons by 2, or if you allow them to attack, they'll show up alongside Zarathur. They'll attack for 1, amplified out to 2, just as would any other unit. Looks like we've got a copy of one of the Warlord friends. It's going to be the Noise Marine Zealots, who themselves are a quite lovely group of fellows, all, dancing and making merry together, forming their very own band at planet number 2. They're a 1 command icon unit for the cost of 3. They attack for 2, They've got 3 hit points. If a Warlord is present, they attack for 4. If Zarathur is present, they attack for a modified 5. And Barzul's Cleavers, another instance of that unit, is going to be seen making its presence known at planet number 1. It's now adorned itself with some rune-encrusted armor, and therefore it is presenting in fine style at our, combat-guaranteed planet. It's a modified 4/7 unit with a command icon, and it can deal itself 2 points of damage to be able to attack once for 6. So that is a hell of a unit. We've got that Black Legion Helldrake in play as well, and looks like Ian has already passed at this point at planet number 3 because Zarathur is taking this opportunity, his opponent having passed, to run amok. That's going to be a copy of the Splintered Path Acolyte, 1 cost 1/1 with a command icon. You can sack it to decrease the cost of a demon by 2. At planet number 2, we've got a copy of Zave's Split Tongue, 3 cost, 2 command icons, 2 attack, 3 hit points whenever an enemy unit is destroyed at his planet. Perhaps it's actually an enemy army unit. You can generate a cultist token in your HQ, so he's a bit of a fantastic economy card. Note, he's sitting at a blue planet, so you could see a Sowing Chaos or something like that, destroy a bunch of enemy units, result in a bunch of tokens being added to your HQ, but if there's anything Barzul seems to be doing during this game, it is not playing 2-cost units, I say, as there's a copy of Chaos Fanatics sitting at the top of Barzul's HQ. But Zarathur's invested 6 resources so far in those 2 Warp Storms, and I wonder if it's going to pay off for him. The victory condition planet here is going to be planet 3, so it's interesting that Zarathur is sending units so heavily to planet number 2. That copy of Rograk's Bloodhand, the unique, that debuted within the Great Devourer Deluxe expansion, they're a non-rotation card for Zarathur. It's a 1 command icon unit that I believe is a 2/5, but it's got the Brutal keyword printed upon it, and more importantly, it's got the Bloodthirst specialization, where if a unit dies during that same combat round, you double its attack bonus, so maybe it's attacking for up to 6 thanks to Brutal, and then maybe you double that for up to 12, and then maybe Zarathur adds an additional point of damage on top for a colossal 13, and that spells a dead Barzul the Hatebound in a single swing. Looks like Barzul and Zarathur both decide to show up at planet number 3. That's going to be that Black Legion Helldrake showing up at that planet as well. Note, planet number 1, currently under contest, is going to be Farron the Rout, a target non-warlord unit planet, which could result in that copy of Rograx being evicted from planet number 3, which would probably be a pretty reasonable life choice. Planet number 1 is going to be 2 resources to the right for Zarathur. Planet number 2 is going to be a card and a resource to the right for Zarathur. Planet number 3 is going to be Zarathur taking home the gold. That is going to be a card and a resource also for Zarathur, and planets number 4 and 5 are going to be entirely uncontested. Note, nobody is in pursuit of planet number 5 because everybody's got their warlord movement restricted by a bunch of powerful units in their HQ, and even though Taurus would make a fine addition to either player's hand or resource bank, looks like it's not going to be just fought over this round. So Planum is what we're currently fighting for. It's going to be the opportunity to strategically relocate any unit. Note that the Black Legion Helldrake with flying, that is going to basically cut all damage in half prior to your opportunity to shield, and Rograx could swing for a whole hell of a lot and still be unable to one-hit knock out that Black Legion Helldrake. So looks like we've got a copy of Blood for the Blood God being played at planet number 3, and that's a very interesting play in the context that it's going to be 1 damage dealt out to each and every undamaged unit at that planet, but Zarathur is going to augment each and every point of damage dealt out to all non-friendly units. So the Black Legion Helldrake takes 2 points of damage, Barzul's Cleavers takes 2, and Barzul himself takes 2, so at the cost of a point of damage to Zarathur, the Rograx, and killing that stupid-ass Splintered Path Acolyte, that seems like a very interesting choice indeed, but we'll have to see what the thought process was behind that for Ian there. Note that the initiative token is currently going to be in the possession of, I believe, our fellow to the right. Yeah, you can barely see it at the bottom of the screen, so that's going to be that Slith Mercenary having dealt out a couple points of damage to Barzul's Cleavers, but that is going to be the ability to rout that copy of Rograk's Bloodhand. It's going to be returned to Zarathur's HQ. I'd now say there's going to be a 0% chance that Zarathur's going to be able to win planet number 3, but interestingly, we see a copy of, I was going to say Infernal Gateway is trying to put into play a copy of Zave's Split Tongue at planet number 3 there. But of course, that is going to be a unique unit, and that is just technically not exactly a legal play. So we'll have to see if Mike Kerslake has a different unit in hand. I guess the Paragon play would be putting into play a copy of Noise Marine Zealots to attack Barzul for 5. So it looks like we see a big nevermind about that Infernal Gateway. Zarathur was going to do something cheeky, but instead he's got initiative. He's going to use that opportunity to retreat, and that's going to be that Black Legion Helldrake moved to our soon-to-be planet number 1 here. So looks like Farron is now sitting in Ian's victory display. It's a little bit difficult to see, but at present he's got 2 red material type icons, he's got 2 green strongpoint type icons, and therefore if he wins at our current planet number 1 as we move through an HQ phase, or if he wins a battle at planet number 2 the following round, or if he wins a battle at planet number 3 or 4 the round and second round after that, he's going to be able to win the game. So Zarathur's going to have to play a little bit of a metagame here called make sure that your opponent cannot win the current planet, but that's going to be slightly complicated by the fact that Barzul is going to be possessing initiative, and Barzul is going to have a Black Legion Helldrake positioned at planet number 1. If Zarathur shows up at that planet, Zarathur is guaranteed to be absolutely murdered by the Black Legion Helldrake unless we happen to see a little bit of a card called, I don't know, I think it's called Archon's Terror, to remove Black Legion Helldrake from that planet, which of course is a total possibility. He is indeed allied with Dark Eldar. And what kind of responsible adult would you be if you played a Dark Eldar deck that does not have Archon's Terror in it? So it looks pretty grim for Zarathur, but we're definitely not through with this match yet. Barzul's got a fair few resource tokens, I count 5. In total, Zarathur's got quite a few resources stacked himself, so therefore Zarathur could end up doing just fine indeed at planet number 1. The Noise Marine Zealots aren't going to be half so threatening if, I guess first of all, a Warlord isn't present at their planet, but also if Zarathur is not present at their same planet. And I don't think Barzul's actually revealed his choice of allied faction yet. We've not seen any Orcish ammo depots or Snakebite Thugs. We've not seen any Dark Eldar cards. So it's up in the air as to whether or not Barzul has, say, Archon's Terrors of his own. At our current planet number 4, we see a copy of Rogue Trader. At planet number 1, we've now got a copy of Rograx Bloodhand played out by Barzul, and I definitely wouldn't be surprised to see Barzul arrive at planet number 1. Zarathur could. I guess Zarathur kind of has to go to planet number 1, because if Zarathur loses planet 1, that is going to be the game. So what exactly are we going to see? Barzul is going to bring in that unit of his with the rune-encrusted armor that's currently a 4/5 that can increase its own attack value. And even though Zaves is going to be present at planet number 1, he himself is only a 2/3. Any and all cultist tokens he generates are only going to be entered into his HQ. And if that Black Legion Helldrake can kill Rograx Bloodhand or Bloody Zarathur as Zarathur leaves the planet, then all of a sudden the odds of Mike being able to win this one are looking rather low indeed. And just based on the performance of this somewhat unconventionally constructed Barzul the Hatebound deck, maybe Barzul isn't half so bad as people were thinking he is, and we're actually seeing Barzul do a fair bit of work even without the recent addition of the Cornate Chain Axe that was released in the Deadly Salvage War Pack. So what exactly are we going to see? Looks like Zarathur is being pretty bold in throwing out a copy of Gleeful Plague Beast to Planet 2. That's going to be an immensely expensive unit. Its one command icon is going to block the one command icon associated with Barzul the Hatebound there. So that's going to be a card and a resource going to neither player. So will Zarathur go to... Looks like Zarathur is going to show up at planet number 2 and Barzul instead is going to planet number 1. Perhaps we're not exactly realizing it. Like perhaps Zarathur was far too confident because, of course, this is the victory condition planet here for Barzul the Hatebound, so let us see if there's anything that Zarathur can do to try and overcome this one. So maybe this is a very unfortunate Warlord committance. Maybe it's a failing to notice those, that victory display sitting there abundantly clear on the tabletop by Ian, but regardless, that's going to be Barzul showing up at planet number 1. That is going to be a card in a resource to the left for Barzul. Planet number 2 is going to be a card in a resource to the right for Zarathur. Note that the Gleeful Plague Beast is going to fire off its ability at the onset of the combat phase. That's going to be 2 points of damage to that Barzul's Cleavers, which is practically dead, and that's going to be 1 point of damage to each and every Chaos Faction Army unit. Barzul commands initiative at planet number 1. Barzul throws out a copy of Archon's Terror, banishes that Noise Marine Zealots from the planet. That is going to be a 3rd copy of Warp Storm. It's going to be 2 points of damage dealt out to each and every unit at that same planet that does not have an attachment, so the Black Legion Helldrake is practically dead, but it's still an 8-attack, 4-hit point flying unit. Rograk's Bloodhand himself is going to be able to attack for 4. Looks like the Colosseum Fighters are going to be dead. Zave's Split Tongue is going to end up taking 2 points of damage, and of course that Barzul's Cleavers with the affixed copy of Rune-encrusted Armor is going to be entirely just fine, and they're not really going to have anything to worry about. So Infernal Gateway drops a copy of Zarathur's Flamers into play, and it looks like it is going to be able to attack in just a moment here. We've yet to see an outgoing attack by Barzul, so I guess the Zarathur's Flamers could attack for 2. They could potentially be sacked for 2, but if this were me, as soon as I would have a moment to attack, it would be with the Helldrake, I suppose, destroying one of those units, the Zarathur's Flamers, before it has an opportunity to attack. Zarathur's Flamers are going to be discarded as a bit of a sacrifice move. They're dealing out damage to, if it were me, really the only reasonable target would be that Black Legion Helldrake because it circumvents flying. But I'm not exactly sure what we've seen damage dealt to, but the Black Legion Helldrake is going to destroy that copy of Zave's Split Tongue. So a rather unconventional game here, a rather strange last round Warlord committance, but let's say if Zarathur would have shown up at planet number 1, that Black Legion Helldrake would have had initiative. It could have destroyed Zarathur. I could only imagine that Zarathur himself would not have had an Archon's Terror in hand. Yeah, there we go. First card of the deck there was going to be Archon's Terror. Had Zarathur been able to do that, things would have been ever so slightly better for him. But considering Barzul would have had to show up at that planet, considering Zarathur would have augmented damage, at least, like if that Gleeful Plague Beast would have blown up, that would have been a little bit more damage dealt to Barzul. I don't know if Zarathur would have necessarily been able to deal enough damage to destroy Barzul, but it could have been a much closer game in either case. But regardless, congratulations to Ian Russell for managing to win this one with Barzul the Hatebound. And of course, as always, be sure to let these players know in the comments what you could have done differently in regard to deck construction and strategy. But despite Ian handily winning this one, very well played game by Mike Kerslake nevertheless. And of course, a monumental thanks as always to the Guardians of Tyr for allowing me to publish another one of their videos upon my channel. So always a treat to see Barzul, and I hope you enjoyed this video half so much as I did. So if you've made it this far, please hit that like button, write something in the comments. If you'd like to get in touch with me, always be sure to reach out to me on the Facebook page, on my Twitter account. Be sure to share this video because more people stumbling upon this content means more people may see Conquest. They might join our living card game community, and together, the greater we are in number, we send an increasingly strong message to Fantasy Flight Games saying, hey, keep developing, keep supporting this fantastic game. We keep growing the community, and it creates this big positive feedback cycle, and this becomes a more and more popular, incredible game, and who knows, maybe someday we'll be number 2 to Magic the Gathering or something in the number 2 card game on the planet. But as always, thank you so much for watching. If at any point you feel inclined to help support the Hive Tyrant, I would be honored and humbled were you to make $1 or $2 donation on a strictly monthly basis to my Patreon, as it very much helps keep this channel funded and alive, and unfortunately this content is not free to host and produce. But regardless, thank you for watching, and once again, be sure to check back in again soon for much more Conquest LCG content to come.